And we're going to give it a little bit of a
Yeah, and it takes a little bit of time for it to update. So hello, everyone. We're just waiting for YouTube. Okay. It looks like it's up on YouTube. So hello, everyone. Welcome to another live show for the Addicted to Audio Book Club. Today we're going to be discussing the Foxhole Court series with the one and the only, the queen of romance, Kay Webster.
Oh, thanks.
And I have my guest here, my co-host, I should say, Taji from Taji World of Books as well. I'm getting really rusty with these intros, so I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. Oh, we're so excited that you're with us today. How are you doing? It's been a while since the last time we talked to you.
I know. And when Charles was like, "Do you want to talk about the Foxhole Court?" I was like, "Yeah, sign me up." Like, I can't say. I even wore my shirt. Let's see if you guys can see it.
Look at you, the Palmetto Foxes.
The Foxes.
Hold on. I'm not very coordinated.
Wait, number 3. You got it. I love it. There you go. You got it. Now you got it.
Okay. So
that's amazing.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
I'm just obviously obsessed. I can't. Okay, there we go.
I didn't expect how obsessed I would even though I was my mind was trying to figure out who's the love interest, where are we going, what's happening, what is this, what's up with this character's backstory, I'm what is he running from? And I was like, dang you, Nora, give me the answers right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then I read them so quickly that you just get sucked in, and then you're and then you get to the third book, and I'm like, oh, that was so satisfying.
Well, yeah.
That's funny that's where you went, Charles, because I went to what the heck is this? How do you even say it? Exy? I was like,
Exy.
And I had it pulled up, and I went on, and I was looking, well, what's Exy, and who are the players, and what's a striker? And I was trying to understand the dynamic, because so much I felt was in the game, and it's this Quidditch game, but it's not. It's a lacrosse meets soccer meets hockey type,
field hockey. It's a mix.
Yeah, and so I was I need to understand this, because we're in championships, we're at games, we're at meets. I gotta understand what the players are doing and how. So I got sucked into that piece of it, as opposed to the love interest in the romance part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she does a good job of world building. I mean, she obviously creates this whole sport, and I was so therefore I'm not a sports person, but I love Exy.
Same. I was just I'm just hearing about the sport. I was okay, I was here for the romance, but then you made me wait, Nora. I was okay, what's this interesting sport? Right. What is up with Andrew? What is up with Kevin? Is this gonna be a menage?
Kevin is so wonderful.
I love them all, and his evil twin brother Rico. Yes. Rico, I believe.
Yes, Rico. Rico was Kevin's nemesis.
Nemesis. Yeah, he was on the Raven King. He's on the Raven King.
He was.
We probably should go back and give a little synopsis of what the series, if people haven't read this or haven't heard of it, what's it about? And I was sort of thinking about. It seems and Kay, I know you've read this way before we did, so maybe you can help me out here. But it seems it's this ragtag misfits of. It's a combination of recruiting for these, this team. So you have this coach that goes out and recruits these kids for this team, but they're all misfits, but they have some kind of criminal background or something that's happened in their past. And if you tie that in with the mafia influence, then you get Foxhole Court. But I don't think I'm doing it justice. So how would you guys describe that? The backstory?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. The coach, it's almost he's drawn to the people that, are the most broken, and he puts all the little broken pieces on his team, and, they work, and they're better than everybody else, especially when Neil gets there.
Yes. And it seems they played from childhood, or they could have played during their younger years, and then they would have gotten recruited to be in this sort of the college age level of the sport. But it's about it an audition or something like that. I was a little bit confused about that piece of it.
Well, I think one of the creators of Exy was Rico's uncle. Was that right? Dad or something?
I think so, yeah.
And then the other one was Kevin's mom. And so, they basically, it was very political, sports kind of are, but these really were. And if you grew up playing with like, you know, on the right teams and, you know, with the right people, then you like had like a sure, you know, way into like the big leagues or the college teams or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And but you know, with it being so political, if things go bad
Mm-hmm.
and you have like negative publicity, they like basically shun you, kind of like they did with Kevin. He got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It was an accident, but he and then he basically became like the, you know, the broken toy that nobody wanted, and so he, you know, got sent to the Foxes along with all the other broken toys, and he is still, you know, he lives and breathes Exy, so he's able to like, he's their captain, so he can like, no, he's not their captain, but he basically is like an assistant coach because he like teaches them how to do all this stuff. And anyway, that's all I gotta say.
And so I feel like there are, so it's the main sort of players, right, are Aaron, right, and Andrew, Kevin, Niels, and Nikki. Like those are the like sort of core.
Those are the monsters. Yeah, they're like their own little clique or whatever within this story, and you basically get the most of their story, you know, of those 5 characters.
Right. And they're sort of developing over time there. And it's like this, it's a story of, like you said, these broken pieces, these broken kids that are sort of brought together that develop family and connection. So it's a found family, if you will. And that's the one thing that Niels has been looking for his entire life. But I don't think he really recognizes it until sort of at the very end where he's like, these are, and I need to trust them because trust is like this big thing. And I think, you know, the thing that sort of stood out for me is that, and I was talking to Charles about this, like there are some dark elements and dark themes to this, but it's like sort of, it's an undercurrent. It's not right out there on page and in your face. And what I mean when I say that is, you know, think about it. Niels's father basically beat his mother to death. This is spoilers, if you will, but beat his mother to death, right? But she doesn't die in that moment. She dies on this long trek across the country. She slowly sort of passes away. And so how Niels deals with that is he burns her body, right? And leaves her remains like, you know, off somewhere. And then he basically lives off the grid and squats in houses or whatever. And he's found by Coach Womack. And that's how he then joins the team. And I was like, and because he's had to live this kind of life where they're changing names, they're not letting anybody know, he's like telling lies to hide secrets, that when he comes onto this team and they're trying to bring him in to befriend him, he's like, I don't trust you. You guys are out to get me. I don't know what this is like all about. Like, so then that starts.
And all he cares about is Exy. That's all he cares about. Like all he cares about. And that's why he is good friends with Kevin in a weird little way. They've got this good little relationship because they have this same love for Exy. And that's really why Neil started, or how he got swept up in all this is, once he lost his mom, he had nothing. Like he had nothing. So he's like the only thing.
Is that me or did we lose Kay? We lost Kay. Oh, right. And it was getting good.
Oh no.
Maybe
we'll come back. Okay, there we go. We're back.
So we lost you right at the. Go ahead.
I was saying that with Neil, he basically, you know, had his mom. That's who he cared about. That's what he, you know, lived for. And then when she died, it was like he had nothing else. And the only thing that he ever really cared about was Exy. And so he was like, you know, I'll go to this high school and play for their team, but I'll play for the, you know, whatever they have, I'll do it. And I'll pretend like I'm a nobody, even though he's good and he loves Exy. And so he gets on this team and he's normally a certain position, like when he was younger, but they didn't have any of those positions open. So they put him in some other position. And so he just played that one because he didn't really, you know, have any choice. But and so he wasn't that good in that position. And so, but still Coach Womack says he saw him, you know, on videos or whatever, or maybe it was Kevin. I think Kevin's the one that saw him. And they could tell that he like played like with nothing to lose, basically. And that's what they wanted, was somebody that was trainable and had nothing to lose. And so they recruited him, and he knew it was a bad idea from the start. Like, if I go and play for this team, it will be public, and the past that I'm running from will catch up to me if I'm not careful. And so he's like debating with himself, like, maybe I'll just have a little bit of this, because he wants it so bad, but he knows he shouldn't, and he's gonna just die anyway, is what his mentality is. And so he's like, I'll just get to enjoy this for just a little bit, and then I'll die. You know?
Got it.
Yeah, the whole news anchor scene where he just kind of went off on Rico, I was like, oh my goodness, you're supposed to be hiding.
I know.
Like, stop it.
I loved it. I loved it whenever Neil just kind of like flipped that switch, and he went from, I'm trying to hide, I'm trying to go under the radar, to, let me just tell you something, you know? I'm going to tell off like the, you know, nephew of the mafia in front of the entire world on national television, and it's gonna be fun, you know. If he does it, it's like, I just love that moment. I was like, oh my gosh, he is so brave.
Yeah, and then it dawns on him after, like, what did I do?
What did you just do?
I'm done now.
And what's funny is he just continues to like poke Rico, like the whole series. Like, he does not care. He's like, you know, always in Rico's face and like taunting him. So
yeah.
He's like, Neil, come on. And then like Andrew and how he kind of pokes at Neil. Like, I know you're up to something. Like, I know you have a secret. I just love his character too, because he's really dark with this whole medication storyline that comes into play into book 2.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. And you can see as it kind of goes on, like, Andrew may not be always in the best headspace.
Right.
I really enjoy his character. I did not see him and Neil. I was hoping him and Kevin.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I was like hoping for, but I was like, I kind of see it. Like, they kind of match each other really well, especially when you see in book 3.
If you read up, okay, so obviously I'm obsessed and I read up on all this stuff about it, but if you read up, it said that Nora said originally she thought it was going to be like Kevin was going to be involved in this love story somehow. But then she, as she was writing it, it just didn't, and it wasn't working, and that wasn't happening. So, but originally that was like her intention. So that might have been why you felt like those strong vibes at the beginning, you know, like because she was kind of like planting that, but then it just got away from her. You know?
Because like there was definite vibes. I was like, is it Kevin or Andrew?
I
wanted to message you on my K. Tell me the details. Like, I need to know who the love interest is. And like Nora makes you wait for like 2 books. I'm like,
I wish she would write.
I think it's Andrew.
Yeah, I wish she would write books that were Kevin's, like while they're like at, you know, they're wherever their professional teams are, because I want him to have a love story, but I don't like the girl that they picked for him just because they had like no chemistry. Like, I felt like he should have gotten with his friend that was on Jeremy.
Oh.
Remember every time he saw him, he was always like, oh, Jeremy's so perfect. And everybody was like, okay, we've never seen Kevin smile except for when Jeremy walks on the court, because he was with like that other team, remember? And he was like from California or something, and you know, he's all, you know, frowny, and every time Jeremy would come on, he'd be like, hi, Jeremy. And I was like, yes, put them together.
Yeah. Did you guys ever understand? I was trying to sort out how they spoke all these other languages, like German and French. Like, how did that come? Like, how did they explain that? Do you know, Kay?
Well, with Kevin, obviously, he grew up with Rico, so he learned like Japanese. And then Jean, he was from France, and he also grew up with, or was with Rico and them. So Kevin learned French from Jean. And then the twins and Nikki lived in Germany and in that area for a while. So they picked up those languages. And then Neil, because of his mom dragging him all over the world, he learned languages because he never wanted to be somewhere where he like stuck out or whatever. He wanted to be able to blend in. And so I loved how Neil kept his knowledge of all these languages a secret, so that he could like use it against them, you know?
He could spy and hear and, you know, create their conversations. Yeah.
Like,
and then
they would start going in their own language, and he just like, seriously, like, I'm right here, and y'all are talking in another language, and you can let me, you know, participate.
Yeah, definitely. And then also, Charles, going back to what you were talking about Andrew and being like the darkness associated with him, that first scene in the first book when they took him out to the club and they dosed him with whatever was in his drink. I was like, what the hell just happened here? Because he like knew something was coming out, and that's like, didn't he pay like somebody to knock him out so that he wouldn't be conscious for? That's some extreme measures that you're going to, so that you're not going to divulge secrets, you're not going to have to participate. And it was just like, I was like, these guys are, this is a sports team, but
we're so dark. And then Neil is so like such a survivor. Like, as soon as he comes to and he's in the bathroom, he like climbs out the window and hitchhikes like 20 miles, like, and like does all this stuff, and everybody's like, Neil, what did you do? And he's like, I just hitchhiked home. And they're like, what? You know, like, it was just so, I don't know. He is such a survivor though, because he was like, nope, this ain't happening. Whatever y'all got planned, it's not happening.
So it's like, in my mind, and like, you follow my crazy logic, right? I'm reading about this college, you know, XC team, like with like the Palmettos and like all these universities that I know. But then I read this drug scene, and then he's like climbing out the window and escaping. And in my mind, Charles is gonna laugh, but my mind goes to like, wait, what does he think? They're gonna sell him into sex slavery? Like, this is some like dark romance? Like, what? I'm confused. What is happening right now?
Taji, you read way too much dark romance, and that's your first thought.
Well, if he's diving out the windows when he's like, I'm gonna take a shower, I'm out, he's jumping out the window, hitchhiking across, like he's acting like they're gonna come out for blood for him. So I was like, did I just miss? Let me go back. Did I miss? But I know that they drugged you. That's extreme. But your response also is very extreme. So,
well, yeah. Well, and you got to think, like, his dad was the butcher, and he was like, you know, the leader of the Boston, you know, thugs, basically the mafia thugs. And they were, you know, he's a serial killer or whatever he was psycho. And so Neil grew up like in the worst of the worst of the worst, and then watched all the stuff. So someone's trying to drug him, and he's like, oh, this is going to get bad real quick. I'm out of here.
I just wasn't expecting it. I was reading about university kids playing a college sport, and then all of a sudden I was like, what? I did just get thrust into.
It gets unexpectedly dark. I was like, oh. I love
it. There's just so much. It just keeps happening and happening and happening. Like, there's never like a dull moment in that series. Like, there's always something super dramatic. Someone's dying. Something's, you know, someone's getting hurt. I mean, just all the stuff. And it's, you know,
it's ruthless. It's definitely ruthless. And like, you know,
but talk
about that scene in The Raven King at the end when Rico, like, you know, gets a hold of Niels, and I'm like, and it's like fade to black. So you're sort of left with speculating as to what happened. And I had said to Charles at one point where they like tied him to the bed, you know, and then he opened his mouth and spit in his mouth. I was just like, oh my God, what is happening? And then the beginning of the next book, he's like beaten up, and you hear he's talking about these patches and like stitches. But I'm like, well, what happened? Like, I speculate and figure what happened, but I don't really know what he did or didn't do to you. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm glad that they didn't, because I felt like poor Neil kept like getting like the short end of the stick his whole life. And then I was like, are we really gonna read like a whole book about him being with Rico and getting beat all to heck? So I was glad that it was just like it ended and it went and it skipped, and it was like some bad stuff happened and he can barely walk and he's totally beat up and he's like mentally like screwed up now. So obviously I think they just beat him senseless every day. And you know,
how long was he with them? Do we
2 weeks? I think he was there during like the Christmas break.
Oh, you know? So because he had lied and said, I'm going to go back with family or whatever, and he never did. And so they kind of accosted him, and he was there for the 2 weeks.
Right. And whereas everybody else like works on like an 8-hour workday or whatever, they like train for like 16 hours a day or something. So it was basically like double the time because he was there for so long.
Yeah. So yeah, it was unexpectedly dark. I was not, and there are some trigger warnings, for people that are, sensitive readers. Like, there's definitely parental abuse, and the sport itself is very violent. There, who was it? Was it Kevin that got his hand broken? And
Kevin.
Yeah, it was.
Kevin got his hand broken by Rico.
Rico was a bad
Rico.
Rico.
Just like the death just like took me out of it. I'm like, wait, I think his name was Seth. He died in book 1 or book 2.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah. And Seth was with Alice. Was Seth with Allison?
Yeah.
And so she was like, and that's the other thing we haven't even said. Like the guys are like doing crazy stuff, but these girls are hardcore. They are like no joke. Even though Allison is like prissy miss and whatever, it's on the field, and she's like, I will take you out. Like I was like, oh my God. Between her and Dan or Danielle, like they were intense. And Dan is like, she's team captain, but she is not, she cares about her team, and she's not going to let them be pushed around. And so she's a good leader for them. So that was.
What was cool was, you had like the upperclassmen, which was Dan and Renee and Allison and Matt. And they were like, more like a team, like they knew how to work together, and they liked each other, and they hung out and all this. And then you had the monsters, and they were evil little, Andrew and all them. They were just bad. And then you have Neil, and he's kind of like stuck in the middle. So you have like Dan's side, like trying to pull him over to their side, because they don't want him to get sucked into the monsters bullcrap that they are always doing. And then the monsters kind of claim Neil because he, passed their test or whatever. And so Neil kind of like learns to make them work together, so that was what I liked, is that he was able to like bring all these people together, and he really was like the glue of their team.
Right.
He was so like messed up himself.
And he didn't even realize it. He didn't realize that he meant so much to them. And that's how I loved it, sort of in book 3, when it sort of clicked in his mind that they meant a lot to him and him a lot to them, and that it was a found family and they needed to work together. And when they finally did figure all of that out, then it's like, okay, now we're operating as a team. And I'd love to see where it sort of continues and goes in the professionals, like from there, it sort of set it up for that it's going to continue on. It'd be interesting to see if she did write more in this world, what would it look like?
I know. I would love to.
I wish, is any news if she's going to write more?
I don't think she is. World? No, I don't think she is. I don't think she's. I think she's. What I think is that she probably has another pen name that we don't know about, and this was just like her little fun experimentation, and then just like the other one must be doing like really well or something, and she's like, I can't do that right now. But I love it so much, and there's like a whole fandom, like all over Pinterest and Tumblr, and like where people love it.
Like, these books have like incredible high ratings on like Goodreads, and like I was like, whoa! I was like, I thought this came out like not that long ago, but the first book was like 2013, I think, and it's like it's still popular and still talked about. I was like, come on, as romance fans, you have to give us spinoffs of spinoffs of spinoffs.
Right.
Every character mentioned needs their own trilogy, or we will not accept anything less.
I was like, when I was saying I was trying to find out about Exie, like there's a whole fandom page that has multiple tabs where it breaks down the sport, it breaks down every position, every player, all the different teams, the divisions, how they play. Like I was like, oh my gosh, somebody spent a lot of time, putting together this information so that we could understand it. And it has a lot of hits. Like people are really wanting to know about that with art and everything.
On Twitter, they had the Olympics or whatever, the Exie Olympics, and these people who created like Twitter handles for each character, they did like all this stuff, and there was like they made like fake like news articles. I mean, it all seemed so real to me, and I was like, so invested in what was happening with the Exie Olympics and who was going to win, and who was getting in trouble for what. Neil was always getting in trouble or getting hurt, and it just felt like they were real to me. And I was like, oh, my babies.
I feel like I'm going to put this out there. I feel like hopefully Netflix picks it up because they did pick up Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. I don't know if you guys have read that comic book series.
I've got them. I haven't read them.
Yeah.
I
You
got them.
have to. It is like, it's perfection. Like, it's so good. Like, I'm like eagerly waiting. I'm like, Alice, drop the 4th volume already. Like, I'm waiting. It's so good. And so, like, I know that's getting a Netflix adaptation, so I think maybe.
Yeah. This has got such a
Foxhole
fandom
Court.
that they would want to like tap into that, because so many people, I mean, obviously like there's so much like artwork out there. Like I've got it all over my walls, and like, oh, here's a picture. Let's see if I can make it. Let's see. Here we go.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And then I also have this in a mouse pad. Hold on.
Oh, I love it.
But I also have this framed over my desk, like a really big picture of it. So like I have so much stuff, like stickers and art and stuff. Sure.
You're like, I just love it.
Love it. Or maybe we can petition in UK to like continue on the world.
No, I would never do it. I just want her to either write some more for us or Netflix, yes, get us a show going. I mean,
I could see Netflix or Hulu. Hulu would be another place that'd be a great, like, right?
Right. Like, surely they would look at like the fandom and see how many reviews and stuff and be like, there's a lot of people who like this. Let's.
Exactly.
So
I'm so glad that you recommended it to us, because I remember when you mentioned it, I was like, Foxhole Court. I was like, what's this? All right, I was like, okay, if you recommend it, you write it, I'm gonna buy it. You recommend it, I'm gonna read it. So
I actually found it on Pinterest because I was just looking at like, I like to look at like cartoon stuff over there, like drawings of, and I was looking off of another book, and then I somehow kept coming across these two characters or pictures of them, and I was like, what is this? Yeah. And then I kind of like went down the rabbit hole, and then I saw like the cover, and I was like, I don't really know if that's something I would want to read, because hold on, there we go.
Yeah, it doesn't grab you.
And like you're just kind of like, all right, well, I don't really know if this is even like a book that I would want to read. And
so innocuous, right?
Yes. And then so I got it, and I was like, oh, this is really good. This is really good.
Oh,
yeah. Really, if you want like amazing recommendations, like, hey, you have like some of the best. Like, you turned me on to Cora Knight.
Oh yeah, I loved that.
I was like, oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
I started the Upending Tad series.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
good.
Take all my money. Take all my money. I'm just like slowly working my way through all your recommendations.
Yeah, like, if I speak like very, very like, obsessively over something, that means it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And like when you're stealing Cinderella trilogy, I was like,
it's on deck.
I feel like that book broke me. I was like kind of like a 20/80 between audiobooks and ebooks, and that was just like, okay, like this book I just like sat there for hours and hours and hours and hours. I was like, hey, I didn't know I would like this king. I was like, what is going on? And then when I heard Triple Threat, I was like, thank goodness, I wanted a story for the terrible twins.
Right.
I mean, triplets. I was like, oh, and they're all identical. I was like, oh.
Yes, they're all awful and evil and handsome.
I'm like so thankful that you chose this, that you recommended us to read this book, because I feel like I've seen it around the booktube space.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it on the YouTube platform.
Yeah, they need to. They really need to, because it is so good. And like I followed all the people on Instagram that I could that had anything with the All for the Game series in their name or hashtagged. I followed everybody, and then I followed everybody on Pinterest, and I followed everybody on TikTok, and I literally go and look up those hashtags just to see like the art and what people have to say and pictures of their books and
Is there like I think of this, I guess follow my crazy logic, but I think of this like Quidditch, right? Like with the Harry Potter world and the fandom that goes with Harry Potter. Does this have, and it seems like this has a fandom as well. And I wonder if there's like fanfic or people are continuing, like you were saying, Charles, writing in this world. Because I know like if you go down like the Harry Potter hole of like
oh my goodness,
it's
everyone's
like,
all up in Hermione fan fiction right now.
There is so much fan fiction for the Foxhole Court books. There's so much. Like there's, I mean,
really good ones, right?
Yeah, like where they do like from stuff from like Andrew's point of view, or like just all kinds of different. I mean, there's just so much. There's like you can't even like sift through it all. There's so many.
Wow. So you just have to go out and research, because that's what the Hermione, whatever, you just search it and you can find it. So I'm going to have to go and search, because I love the direction that sometimes fans go, because they write what you wanted to see the author do.
Right. Yes.
Different directions. Like, oh my God, I need this in my life. And then you're in the rabbit hole and you're like, oh my gosh, I got stuck here now.
And then a lot of people like shipped characters in that series that weren't actually together. Like, like Kevin and or not Kevin, Jean and Jeremy, because Jean went to Jeremy's team at the end and he like took him in at the end. Well, a lot of people have like this whole like thing that they got together and they're a couple, and like they even have like, if you go on Pinterest, they even have fake like, and it might be on Instagram too, but like fake Instagram profiles of like Jeremy, and it'll have pictures of Jean and have like French stuff and they're in love and it's just so cute. They got a puppy. Like I'm telling you, I fall down the hole and I look at all this stuff and I pin it all. I have the most pins for this book series than any of my other Pinterest boards.
Wow. I didn't know that there was that kind of stuff on Pinterest. So I need to, like, I'm missing out on.
We need to get on this.
Hundreds and hundreds. I'm telling you, I literally every single day I get on there to see if there's anything new.
Anything new popped up.
And I pin it into my board so I can look at it later.
That's so amazing. I'm going to have to check it out. All right.
Yeah, me too.
You always got like nuggets, Kay, for us.
Yeah. And it's fun because it's like, it brings it to life. Like it's a whole nother like layer of the story that you either hear it like we do, listen to the audiobooks, or we read it with our eyeballs, but then you like get to actually like put faces to, or whatever. And there's so many like, I don't know, the art and stuff that people do over there is just amazing. And like for the longest time I had like a screensaver of Neil and Andrew. It's just so cute. And I don't know, I love them.
I definitely want to go read some fanfic of like Neil and Andrew with some steamy times. Nora held out. I was like, I give you a pass because you were doing so many other things.
Right.
So well in this series. I was like, I feel like I remember you mentioned like it's not that heavy on romance, but you will get obsessed with all these characters. And for some reason, I didn't think of that while I was reading it. So my detective, I was like, "Where's the steam? Where's the steam?" I was like, "Oh, but I really enjoy these characters."
I'm pretty sure I have it saved in my audiobook, I think. Or maybe it's the ebook. I have it like flagged where it says, here's when the steamy stuff hits or the romance stuff hits. And I like, so that way I don't have to like read the whole series to get to that part again. I can just skip to that part really fast because I like need to. Yeah. Because it's really, it takes a while for them to get there. Like, I mean, I think it's like up into the third book, like halfway through the third book where they start really like showing that. And so I think it's like chapter 9 or something. I've got it like flagged and so I can go back to it.
I need to do that because I was just like going like, Nora, I'm like, I read Slow Burn, but you take it to a whole nother level. I'm like trying to find breadcrumbs of like their interactions. I was like, is there something going on with Andrew? Like, is there? Am I reading too much into this? Like, is he not going to end up with anyone by the end of the series? So I was like, I really enjoyed that because it allowed me to get sucked into the world. And I was like, I can't stop reading. And these books read so incredibly quick.
Right. Yeah.
You're just like going like, I can't stop reading. I was listening to an audiobook and I was like, oh wait, I'm already done with the first book. Okay. We're just gonna keep the train going.
Yeah. And I love the audiobooks. I love the narrator. I think he's so good. And like now, whenever I go and eyeball read the book again, like I hear his voice, narrating it in my head because it's just like stuck with me, and I don't know. Did such a good job.
He did a great job. And, like I always say, an audiobook can either make or break a book. Like, what I mean, if they don't pick the right narrator. So he did a great job with this. So I loved the audiobook experience. It was great. Yeah. And I felt like it had to be a slow burn because she had to do so much world building, right? She had to do world building, game building. We had to get the dynamics of the players, like all of that had to, and then the backstories of all those players. So all that had to take place before we could ever get to. So it made sense to me that we're well into book 3 before, and then Andrew was away. Like he had to get stuff sorted out.
Well, and not to mention, she picked like 2 of the most like psychologically like
damaged people.
Yeah, they had just had so much torment happen in their lives that they really weren't one of those people that were going to like jump into anything, because Neil was so like had trained himself that you're not supposed to connect with anybody, that he literally severed all connections with people to where he didn't even recognize any friendships or any attempts at people trying to look after him. And then Andrew had his whole terrible past that made him the way he was, and then including his medicines that he had to take, and then coming off the medicines. And so he had like all of that made it like, so then you put those 2 together and it's like, are they ever going to get there?
Exactly.
Are they?
Andrew's like aversion to being touched, right? Like, so like,
he doesn't like to be touched.
Kind of like figure out how, and I love there was the one scene where he wanted to reach out and grab his hair and touch him, and he remembered right at the last minute that he couldn't, so he grabbed his shirt, to pull him towards him. And for me, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so intimate. And there's nothing really there, but it was such an intimate scene because he just wanted him so close so he could kiss him. And he was like, how do I do this without touching him? And so for me, that was a powerful scene without having, and that's an example of like, you don't need a lot of heat to demonstrate or communicate the connection and the intimacy between the characters.
Yeah. And I just love their trust, and like how, whenever there was one scene where Neil and Andrew were like having a little fight, and he like reached out to him, and he's like, he's like trying to like attention or whatever, and Andrew whips around and he says stop or something like that, and Neil just goes like that, and he's like, that's why I like her. He was like, why do you like me or whatever, and he said that's why, or something along those lines, and then he just walked off because he could tell Neil to stop, and he would stop. Like he could trust him not to,
They had an interesting way of communicating. There was another point at which, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like Neil was getting agitated or irritated, and Andrew wanted him to settle down or wanted him to control. And I think he grabbed him by the neck or something, and he just applied a little bit of pressure to kind of like, calm down. And you could read that as like, is this dysfunctional and is he being abusive, or is this their dynamic of how they communicate? And it's a means of touch that Neil needed from Andrew because that's how he could respond.
Bring him back.
Exactly. So I thought that was another interesting sort of little tidbit,
Well, and I liked it like whenever you could see when, because in the whole beginning part, like Andrew was there to protect Kevin, and it was always protecting Kevin. And then there's like this turning point where Kevin is griping out Neil. He's like, if you do this again, I'm gonna. And then Andrew like interjects and he's like, you'll what? And Kevin's like, oh wait, I'm not the favorite no more. Neil's the favorite now, Neil's like, hey, protect Neil.
And
I keep wanting to say, because of the way his name is spelled, I keep wanting to call it Niels, like the Dutch. I want to put an S on the end of his name, and I'm like, it's Neil, because that's like Niel. That's how she spells it, right? And I think I always want to call him Niels, but it's Neil. Okay, I have to say his name correctly.
Yeah, that was funny. One of my favorite parts, and I don't know if this impacted you guys or not, but I totally just like pretty much cheered whenever I heard it. But it was in the last book, I guess it was last book, when Kevin, he's been playing with his wrong hand because the other one was broken, and he's been playing with his left hand the whole time or whatever. And then it's like their championship game, and it's like the second, like the last quarter or whatever, and he like goes out there and he switches his racket to his right hand, and the crowd goes wild, and I'm like, oh, and Neil's about to faint, like he's fangirling behind him, like he's like, oh my gosh. And I was just like, hey, I was so invested in this game and Kevin and him like having a comeback and all that. So
And I really love the showdown scene when Neil's father finally came onto the scene.
Mhm.
I love that, and his death too. I was just like, he's like, you can't harm me. Da, da, da. I'm like, boom. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, well, whenever the dad's woman that's like his
He's like,
whatever.
man,
What was it?
kind of. Or like the person who like removes the bodies.
Yeah, I can't remember her name right off.
I don't know what the name of that is.
Yeah, but when she had him in the car, and she was like, yeah, and she was like burning him with the cigarette lighter, and I was like, and she was doing all this stuff to his hands, and I was like, woman, if you hurt my Neil to where he can't play Xe again, I will come through this book and destroy you. Like, I was like, do not take this away from my baby.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to rewrite this book in fanfic so we can make it working.
We're me and Taji are reading the book, and it's like, and then K. Webster jumped onto the page and he killed everyone.
You know, get away from it. You know, do not injure him where he can never play again. You know.
And it's funny, I was thinking that. I was like, what's going to happen here? Because like when she was burning him, and I was like, you know, because you're always like in that third act conflict, you're like, okay, who's going to come in and save the day? And I wasn't seeing anybody that was going to come and save him. And so when they had him down in the basement or whatever, I was like, what? Are you serious?
Who's going to come for him?
Yeah. Because he kept saying like, I'm going to die anyway, so I'm not going to survive past it, so it doesn't really matter. And then when he's in the basement with I was like, what is going on here? So I was really worried because I just didn't see how it was very stressful. I didn't see how that was going to work out.
It was so stressful. His dad's got his big butcher knife, and I'm just like, oh my God, get out of there, Neil, get out of there. And he's all like injured, he can't do anything. And I was like, oh my gosh, if he like dies or something, I'm going to die. I was so invested.
I was just like, because I don't know if this. I was like, is this like gonna like end happily? I was like, I could totally see Nora just going psych.
Yeah.
That's what I thought was going to happen in that moment. I was a little bit stressed, and then after that, I was like, well, first of all, how's he going to play? He's got to do press conferences, and he's all like beat to hell. I was like, how are they going to explain this away? I was like, what is happening right now?
I know. And what was really funny is they made him just sit there and heal. And afterwards, you know, and he wanted to go play, and he was so mad that he had to sit there. I mean, and he would have played, and he would have ripped all his little scabs off playing because he's that like extra. And I think it like the coach and everybody knew that like you just can't stop this kid. So you literally have to like say you can't play at all.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you'd be like, is that Neil on the field? What is he?
Oh, I love him.
I loved him so much. Like, there's so many scenes I was just like, he gave me like in like the horror films where like the character makes a dumb decision, but like doesn't realize that they're making a dumb decision. But Neil is like, he after it's over, then he goes like, oh wait, that was really dumb. But I love that when he just like goes off and is like, I'm just gonna tell you all what's on my mind. I'm already gonna die anyways. And then right after he's like, oh my goodness, why did I even say that? Even I was reading out like, Neil, do not make me come to this book and slap you. I do not go on live TV and like provoke Rico. Like, come on.
It's just so funny, like how obsessed he is with like Xe. Like even like he doesn't even want to do the schoolwork at school. He's just there to play Xe. And so many times, like I just would giggle. Like he would be supposed, you know, he's supposed to be doing his homework, and every time he's supposed to do his homework, he would start drawing foxes, or he would fall asleep, or like I was like, he's never gonna graduate if he doesn't ever do his homework.
Finally, probably his plan so he could play Xe forever.
I know, yeah, exactly.
Senior citizen Xe. With Neil as a captain.
Yep.
Oh.
So I need to go through the rabbit hole of the fanfic on this. I need to know what I need more. I need more. That's what I was like desperately looking. Like, is there a spinoff that I don't know about that she's working on that's super secret that's gonna drop very soon?
I don't believe that there is, and you just have to like I've stalked and tried to find stuff. All you find is what the fans have created, like their little pretend text messages and pretend little conversations, or what if this happened, or what if that. And I fall down the whole, reading all that stuff because it's, a lot of them think that the people or think that Andrew and Neil like have cats after, they move in together one day. Like there's just all this stuff and there's all these pictures of them with their cats. And I'm just like, oh,
I love it. I love it. And like I said, sometimes the stuff that the fans create, that some of that fanfic can be really, really amazing. So I'm sure that, if we jump in the rabbit hole and get on Pinterest and find some stuff, I think that will satisfy that need, Charles, that you have to find out more. You'll get it.
I do.
Well, and there's I was going to say there's even a group on Facebook that's all for the game, and it's fanatics like us. And there's even like people who do like the cosplay and they dress up as Neil and Andrew and they take their little pictures and it's so cute.
I love it. I love
that.
They're alive. They're real.
Wait, okay. I think I kind of changed my tune. Like I forgot. Like I like because like since it's open ended, there is no definitely like the characters can be doing whatever you want. I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
You can have that freedom instead of like Nora just comes back and writes a novella where she kills off like half of the characters and said like, this is a definite end, you guys. And this is what happens to them. There is no other like epilogue or bonus epilogue for these characters. I think that's so cool that like it's always cool when a piece of literature like spawns that much creativity with fans.
Yeah. And they're constantly making new art. Like it's like new groups of people find it and then they like post new pictures and stuff. So that's why I read these like a year and a half ago and I still literally every day check this stuff out. So.
Wow. That's amazing. And this is she independently published this, right?
As far as I know, I
believe so. I think it's indie.
Published, yeah. Has she written in other areas, or is this just her? Do we know? Has she written other books, or is this just her main thing?
This is the only thing. Like that's why I think it was somebody that just wanted to. I don't know. I've tried to stalk and see like if I knew any of the people that she like acknowledged that. I seriously have just tried to figure out like who is this.
Really interesting, and I think I've read somewhere that the reason that she created Exy is because she didn't want to pick an existing sport that we all know and get something wrong. So she wanted to, so she's like, why not just create a fictional
whole new sport?
But that to me seems infinitely more difficult, right? Like to create a whole new sport with all these rules that you have to create and come up with. But I think that's where I read that that's what she chose to do with that. So it's interesting.
Well, what's funny is people are really specific and like someone will post some artwork and it'll be them like on the field or whatever. And they'll be like, well, this is really good art, except for, the real Exy field would have the plexiglass and da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, okay, that was not nice. And then some people will be like, I love this picture that you drew of Neil, but his scar is actually on the other side. And I'm like, really? Like, I didn't even pay attention to that.
I wouldn't even have known that.
Yeah, they like really like know all the details. So and that's why there is good fanfic out there because people have obsessed over each and every little detail.
So did he ever get the 4 removed that Rico had tattooed on his face? Was that ever removed?
He got the 3 because they did a 3 on him. John, no. Oh, who got 4? John got 3, didn't he? John had 3.
John got 3, and Rico tattooed a 4 on Neil.
The cigarette lighter
covered it.
Yeah, she burnt that off because she didn't want her dad or his dad to see that he was property of.
Of the Ravens.
Yeah.
So
they burnt it.
That is twisted.
And I guess in my mind it was bigger. Like I thought it was like,
Me too.
If you look at the artwork that they have, like it's like all the artwork that they do, it's like little like, just a little.
Oh, it's like a little 4.
Got it. Okay.
So
there's all those little details. Like that's what's really interesting about the way that she writes. Like I felt like for me, it harkened back to the way that like Game of Thrones, like those books, like they have all these like little nuances and details that you have to keep going. And each pass you pick up more and more. And often you don't find that. And this like definitely has all those like little intricacies and details that I think if I went back and reread everything again, I would be like, how did I miss that the first time? I didn't even see that. It's like really, it's rich is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I do too. Every now and again, I'll read it again, and then I'm like, "Ooh, I didn't notice that." Or someone will say something like in one of these like forums or groups, and I'm like, "What?" And then I'll go back and read it. I'm like, "Oh, they're right. Like I missed that. I totally just skipped right over it." So.
Because I think that first time you read it, at least for me, like I'm trying to see the love interest, I'm trying to get the overall plot, I'm trying to see what's happening, and then like I have like a lot of angst trying to get to the end, and then once that's sort of fulfilled, then I can say, okay, now I can settle in and just read it and enjoy it because I already know where it's going. So
you know where everything's going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
And no shade to Game of Thrones, at least Nora finished her series. We're probably never gonna finish. Game of Thrones is probably never going to be finished.
No, probably not. Probably
and like
not.
we just have to go with the TV show, and like I guess that's how it's going to end.
Don't even talk about season 7. Just don't even talk.
There's a whole conversation.
Right, that's a whole other episode.
Like I imagine like the Foxhole court world like matched with Euphoria in my mind, because like Euphoria season 2 was going as I was reading. I was like, oh, I can totally see these characters populate in each of these two worlds, like Nate and Andrew.
Can you see Maddie on an Exy field? Maddie with her nails.
Yeah, totally some Allison vibes there.
It's true though. I was like, these two worlds like really vibe.
Yeah.
Really well together.
Yeah.
And I'm living my best life.
Well, and it's because Euphoria has a lot of really broken characters, and they're all very strong characters, like strong personalities, to where you're just like so sucked into each and every one of them. Even like the side characters or whatever, they're still very just, interesting, but they're like all screwed up, messed up, and that's what makes us like them, I guess.
That's true that you say that, because now that I think about it, like quickly, I like raced through it and I was like, ooh, Neil and Andrew are Maddie and Nate. Like they're like parallel, because they're both like, like they're the two power couples, but broken, but like dysfunctional, but together, but they work together. And so I'm like, okay, Charles, at first when you said it, I was like, really? Superimpose Foxhole on Euphoria?
Hey,
oh, yes.
I blame dark romance for my unhealthy obsession with Euphoria. I'm like, Nate is like the textbook dark romance villain. And I'm like, why am I shipping him with everyone and their mother in this show? When I'm like, no, he needs to go to prison.
Yeah.
He's like one of the guys that you love to hate. Like you look at, you're like, you're an asshole. But at the same time, then you're just like, oh, but I feel really bad for you after everything with everything that happened. I'm like, I feel really bad, but I don't want to feel bad for you because I'm mad at you. But
yeah, that's good writing, because that's the thing. You can't 100% hate the villain, because they make them just likable enough, or just broken enough where you feel sorry for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And 2K, I wanted to ask you, what are some other, because you are like the go-to person for romances, so like we need to know, what are some books that you've been loving that more people need to read? And everyone needs to read the Bricks Fairy Bay series.
Well, okay, so I read one recently that was really good, but it was YA. So you guys may not want that one because it doesn't have that much steam, but it was really good. Hold on.
Taji, you're like, no. I'm like, I could be interested. I could be persuaded.
Like, potentially, and I was like, nope.
But it is just so good. It's this one right here. I don't know if you can see this. Wait, let's see. I listened to this one on audiobook.
Infinite.
I've seen that one.
I haven't seen it.
So good.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Not a lot of steam, but it's good.
The football player is an empath, and he feels everybody's feelings. And then you have this really depressed kid, and that football player just feels like all of his and then they just start to have a friendship and a romance. It's just so good. It's just so good. Like I think I read it in like 2 hours because it was so good.
Oh wow, you plowed through it.
I'm buying it.
I listened to the audiobook too. It's amazing. The audiobook's great, and the narrators are really good. So
amazing.
I even tried to look for other books that those guys narrated because I love their voices.
they did such a good job. Do you have other recommendations for us, like whether it's or just across the genre? Any other recommendations that you think we would like?
As far as like the world building and like, I think you guys told me that you already read this though. The Raven Boys series. Did y'all read that?
Oh, I have.
Maggie Otter Stevers.
Maggie Steve Otter.
I have not. It's been
You
on
have
my.
not?
No, I have not.
Taji, you need to listen to those audiobooks. They're like a masterpiece.
Right, they are.
I'm a bit nervous because is that in YA or?
It's what?
It's YA, but I think it's crossover. Like I think adults. I think it's like one of those crossover titles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where it doesn't read like the writing.
Yeah.
Maggie Steve Otter could write my grocery list.
Right.
I'll be so enthralled.
It's so good. Like it's like poetry. She writes so good. It's just, I mean, it got to the point where I listened to the first audiobook and the narration was amazing. But then I had to put it down and get the actual physical book because the words were so pretty. I needed to see them. Like I just loved the way she wrote. And I was like, I have to actually see the words because it was just, but then I had like the voices in my head of the guy narrating. So then I could read it in his voice.
You know, I have heard this multiple times, and I've heard like they said like it's like the quintessential, like what are the books that you always are going to recommend when somebody says what should I read next? Like there's several like people always recommend, and this came up, The Raven Boys, as one of those books, and I was a little bit hesitant because I'm like it's YA, and I've sort of stepped away and outgrown, if you will, YA if it reads really young. But if you're saying it doesn't read really young, okay, I'll put it on my TBR. We'll do it.
And,
so
well, and I have artwork of those characters on my walls too. Like I have a humongous picture on my wall. Like I don't even know if I can show you. I won't show you right now because that might make you sick going over there. But it's like ginormous. It's like a big picture of two of the main characters. And the reason I like love that series is the main girl, her name's Blue. She gets like this she lives with a bunch of palm readers and what do you call those?
Psychic.
Oh, psychics.
Yes. She lives with a bunch of psychics, and she doesn't have any of their abilities. But she gets told that she if she kisses the person she falls in love with, they will die, or something along those lines. And it starts shaping up to be this boy that she does not like, and he's kind of annoying because he has this like quest he's on. But she starts to realize as time passes that, oh my gosh, it's gonna be him. And then he's been told that he's gonna die. Like there's all these things. And so like, I don't know, there's just, you talk about layered story that's really rich with stuff. This is so good. So It's another one that I like devoured, and I have the hardbacks and
Okay, I trust you. I'll do it. I'll add it to the TBR. The TBR is
you will like it.
I feel like I move things off the TBR and then I add more things, and so it just never changes in terms of the number of books I still have to read.
We just have to accept that our TBRs will never end.
Right.
They will never. I'll be shocked if I read every single book on my TBR. I'll be like, what have I done? I done something wrong.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But do you have any steamy romance recs?
Oh,
I had to ask. Like we have to get the spectrum.
Let me just look at my Kindle because it's been a while. Let's see. I've actually been on a zombie kick lately. I've been reading a lot of zombies. Well, that's not steamy. I haven't read very much steamy apparently, because everything I'm seeing is not steamy. I guess I'm just. Oh, did I tell you about You're My Home?
No.
You're My Home by Katie Moore. It looks like, let me see if I can pull this up. If you can see this. It looks like this.
I think I've seen that.
That's one of my absolute favorite books that I read last year, hands down. And it's an MM story, and it's kind of like hurt comfort, and you know, the boy's like gets abused by his dad, and he's this small little thing, and then the other boy is this, you know, football player guy, and he like takes this little guy under his wing when they're younger, and then they grow up as like best friends, and people don't understand why he's best friends with this little dork basically. But they just love each other, like not in a romantic way at first, but like I can't live without you, like very like codependent, like super codependent, like they like to the point where the little dorky boy like pretty much lives with them all the time, and the parents pretty much take care of him because he's so mistreated at home. And then as the little dorky boy starts to get like, I call him dorky, he's not really that dorky, but you know, that's how I'm comparing him. And he starts to like develop feelings for this other guy, and he knows it's wrong. He doesn't want to mess up his little family that he has, and it's just so like, and it takes the other guy a lot longer. He's like totally clueless, like Neil, like how he was clueless, like that's the kind of clueless he is. And so it's sad to watch the boy, you know, he's like out here dating girls and stuff, and he's over here at home pining over him, you know, and it's just so good. And then they do get to the steamy times, they do. So
there you go.
It just like
there
has, yes, if you want the steam, you're gonna get it. It is a slow burn to get there, but once you get there, you are very satisfied. And there's a lot of emotions involved. It's very good. And that's like her only book she's written. And I made her my friend. I like searched her out and I was like, hey, I'm going to need you to write more books.
Or maybe more Briggs Ferry Bay series. Co-written with this author.
Yeah,
I just want more of that series.
Yeah, I know. I'll get back to it eventually, me and Misty.
Nice.
Right,
before we end it, are there any other any projects or things that you're working on that you want to tell us about? Or, you know, I'm always excited about
I feel like Kay's not going to tell us anything.
I'm excited when she releases audiobooks because we are addicted to audio, and so I always get excited about that. So
you'll get the Hidden Truths and Stolen Lies audiobooks this year, and you'll also get the Cinderella trilogy on audio. And you should get the Triple Threat and Death Wish on audio this year. Hopefully they roll them all out. I mean, I've already submitted the information and everything, so hopefully those all come out this year and everybody, gets to listen to those. And then as far as what I'm working on, I'm actually working on some taboo stuff. I've got save for Amazon for now, the ones I'm working on. So one's a student teacher, and it's male female with a huge age gap. And it's going to be really juicy. That's one I'm pretty much almost done with. And then one that I have to work on that's later this year, it's going to be super forbidden, and it's going to be male. So
I
take
love
all
it.
my money.
Yeah.
I will just if you just say the pre-order's this much, I will Venmo.
I know. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to start the male one because I haven't really written that much male lately because I've just had other things, and now I'm like, okay, I need to get back. I'm in a happy spot.
I was wondering. I was like,
I know you love to write
such good MM.
Yeah, you do.
I love it. You have your sweet, heart-wrenching MMs, but then you also have the super steamy MMs. And I was like, oh man,
so good.
There's nothing you can't do in the romance genre. Anything you can make it work. When I heard Triple Threat was gonna be a book, I was like, how is she gonna redeem those three? And I was like, they're pretty horrible, even though I was kind of for it.
Oh, I was gonna tell you, if you want something really steamy, hold on, let me just show you. That's too taboo really is this one. Wait, let me go. I put the ebook for free on my website.
Ooh.
But it's got this I made little teeny tiny paperbacks because it's just a little short story, but it's three brothers, best friends. Can they be lovers too, or will, blah, 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 blah. There's a whole bunch of stuff. But anyway, yeah, they're triplets. This is not the same triplets, but these are other triplets. So it's super taboo.
I think what I would do is
I'm reading that tonight.
I think what I would do is email you and say, okay, this is the pack I want, so just mix and match and put a bunch of stuff in there and surprise me.
Yeah.
Just surprise me.
Pick you up for the good stuff.
It's okay. Now that Eden Books is a thing, I was like, the more banned, the more taboo.
Right.
I'm I can buy them on just put them on Eden Books, and I can find you that way.
Yep.
There you go. There you go. So then I just want to go back really quickly. So when you said they'll be out this year, so are we looking at with Truth and Lies and Cinderella? So are we talking the latter part of the year, middle part of the year in terms of when they're going to be coming in? I can start planning.
I believe that or Hidden Truths, the first book, I think comes out next week, maybe
on audiobook.
Yeah, let me see. I got an email about it today. It says release date for Hidden Truths is March 11th.
So exciting. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know when Stolen Lies, but I'm sure after that, at some point, maybe a couple months, they might. I don't know.
Sure.
And then the others, I'm not really sure. They're in production, and it's with the publisher, so I don't really know. Yeah. I imagine that they'll put out I have no idea. I have no idea how they're going to do it.
Yeah, they probably have some kind of schedule or something, but it's going to be within like the next couple months or something. But definitely in 2022.
Usually once you give them all the information about like what they need to do, like what kind of voice they need to do, and and you tell them like any special name pronunciations or whatever, then that means that like they're working on it. So usually that doesn't take but 2 to 4 months.
And Hidden Truths is up. I just looked. It's up on for pre-order now on Amazon. So yeah.
For only it dropped during the Audible sale. March. I have to wait. I read the duology, so I was like, I know, like, there's some crazy times in those two books.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It gets crazy.
Yeah.
So I need to be good.
Yeah.
And I spend my last 2 credits very wisely. But when your books come out, like the Cinderella trilogy comes on audio, I will. I'm like, you just take them. I own all the ebooks. I'm like, just take them. Like, I had one final question for you too. Would you ever consider writing more in the Dangerous Press with the Leo and Morelli world? It's Morelli and Constantine.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Whenever they asked me to do the trilogy, I was super excited, and then they, I basically became addicted to all characters, and then they were like, "Oh, do you want to write the triplets story for them?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I mean, if they ever asked me to write more in the world, I would, because I feel pretty invested in that world. Because now that I've got 5 books in that world, I feel like I'm a big part of it. So yeah, if they ever asked me to do more, I would.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was a whole thing until I read the Cinderella trilogy, and I was like, wait. I think everyone who read that trilogy was like, wait, this is a part of a bigger world. Mm-hmm. And then Gianna Darling came out with hers, and I was like, wait, this is like a whole connected
and I think
thing going on. I was like,
can you see all these? These are some of them. There's some ones by M. O'Keefe and Jay West.
Wow.
And Amelia Wilde and Becker Gray and Pam Godwin. So there's like all kinds of.
It's like a crazy roster. I was like, why haven't I seen that? Like someone put together. It's like you kind of read each of these 2 books and not realize they're connected, and you're like, oh wait, I know this character. It was mentioned in this book. It's so much fun.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love that their editors are really good about like the world continuity. Like they make sure that, like, if I say something in my books, that it's not contradicting something in someone else's book. So they do a good job of that.
Perfect. So there's consistency.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But thank you so much again, Kate Webster, for coming on my channel, chatting all things about the Foxhole Court trilogy with us. Like, we enjoy reading it. We enjoy having you so much. And you're always welcome to come back.
Well, I'm always happy to come on here. You guys are awesome.
I will always be in your DMs going like, okay, what books are you working on now? Let me see.
How can we make this work?
But thank you again to everyone watching this live show. Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you're catching the replay, thank you so much for checking out the replay as well. And I'll catch you guys with a brand new video. Bye, everyone.